All right, this is a little bit of a different kind of video, but I wanted to talk about how to become an auto mechanic. You want to be an auto mechanic. Um, there's a million different ways you can do it. And I'm probably not going to say anything a lot of you haven't heard before in this, but I really just wanted to make it because I talked to a couple of younger folks, early to late teenage years, who know that I work on cars and have been a full-time mechanic before. And I'm building a business around working on cars now, and they want to talk and they want to ask questions. So I figured I'd make something for people I don't know out there on the internet that are curious about this. So let me get a couple of things out of the way first, which is to say, it takes a certain kind of person to be a full-time auto mechanic, and I don't want this to be discouraging to anyone. I just want you to understand that, like with any professional field, there's different ways to go about this, and different people are cut for different kinds of jobs. And depending on the kind of shop you're going to work for and the kind of environment you're going to work for, if you're going into the field, which is the best way to learn, um, you need to have a little bit of basic understanding beforehand. A lot of guys may not have the time or availability or patience at a shop to teach someone who has no knowledge at all. So this is kind of a field that is a trade, obviously, where an apprenticeship sort of deal is best. So if you know somebody who works on cars or knows how to work on cars, or you spend a lot of time on the internet, shift that to watching YouTube videos. Shift that to watching guys who rebuild cars or restore cars or work on stuff all the time. There's a million channels that I still watch every day because I find it enjoyable and entertaining, and also a source of knowledge sometimes. So do that. I've been working on cars since, like, completely working on cars since about 2018 or 19. So that it's 2026 now. It's been almost 8 full years, and I've been doing it full time for 3 years. So that gives you an idea of kind of the timeline it takes. And I don't know everything, but I can fix anything. Um, but I don't know everything about every single process on vehicles. And that's one of the things that you'll get into, especially in the modern age in the automotive industry, is working on cars that require a lot of intricate, like, software knowledge and electrical knowledge, things like that. It is a job that you can do from a base skill point all the way up to, like, I've been an engineer for 30 years kind of skill point. It's not like you really will ever grow out of it. There's a million different specialized fields you could go into within the automotive or mechanic industry. Even all the way up to, like, you want to work on design and engineering, stuff like that. One of my good buddies is an engineer for one of the largest auto manufacturers in the world, and he is similar to me in the fact that we always want to know more. It's not so much just about doing a task and taking a check home. We are really genuinely curious about the kind of stuff we do, and he's always doing a lot of stuff. He works closely with a tech line, which is something that I'll talk a little bit more about here in a second. But the number one thing that you need to know as I ramble on is you got to start. You just have to start. Same with anything in life that you want to do. Just start it. Best place to start with a car is, if you, let's assume you know nothing about cars at all, learn about cars. Use the internet. I wouldn't recommend so much using AI for this kind of stuff unless you know about AI as well. And that's something that I've been getting into more, and I'm making a couple videos here on this channel for. Um, but you can get it through TikToks, watching other people work on stuff. I used to watch guys, I don't know what happened to them. I make TikTok videos working on cars a lot, along with a bunch of other random stuff that I feel like posting on my TikTok. But there was guys that would film the entire transmission rebuild process on, like, heavy duty uh, truck models. And by heavy duty, I mean like light duty passenger trucks. So, like, 3/4 ton and 1 ton pickups. one guy that was doing like exclusively Ford truck transmissions. He would show the whole, um, tear down all the clutch plates, all the baskets, everything in there in an automatic transmission, show you the whole process, and then show you where the failure points were, and then he would rebuild them, smack them together, and he would do all of that in a 1 minute video, quick cuts, and make it look pretty cool, pretty simple, pretty easy. And that's what you want. You want it to be something that makes it look simplistic so that you can understand it at the root level as best as possible. The easiest thing to fix on cars, depending on the models these days, is brakes. Brakes are one of the easiest jobs to do. It's also one of the more bread and butter expensive jobs that you can hire done because parts are expensive and it does take time, but it is a relatively simple process to understand. The number two thing you need is the correct tools. You need to learn that no job, no matter how frustrating and impossible it seems to be, is undoable. It just requires the right tools and the right mindset. There are a million things that you'll see, especially if you start watching, like automotive content on the internet. Is the number one complaint is always people talking about like bolts that are inaccessible or parts that are inaccessible to remove and replace and things like that. Tools are the number one way to go. Um, a lot of guys who work in the automotive industry use tool trucks, Snap-on, Mac, Matco, companies like that, where the tool truck comes to your location and they sit there and they'll sell tools. They do that on credit. There are interest rates, and it is a dangerous game to play. If I have any advice, stay away from tool trucks unless you know exactly what you want and you're going to pay for it. Because the way that credit system works is a lot of company, like the company that I worked for, we had uniforms, so everybody, has like a dress code uniform in the workplace. Those uniforms, they come out of your paycheck. Your tool truck uh, accounts will sometimes come out of a paycheck depending on who you work for. Usually, though, you go in and they run a credit check on you, and every time your tool truck rep comes by, you'll go on the tool truck, buy something, he adds that to your account. Your account is now set up where it's going to withdraw from your bank account like a credit card would. So I recommend staying away from that, but I also recommend don't buy cheap tools unless you know why you're buying cheap tools. I buy cheap tools still all the time from Harbor Freight or like we have Menards around here. I'll go in there and buy like cheap socket sets that are going to break because I use tools that break for breaking. I use them to break them or destroy them or molest them in some way regularly, like something with enough steel content that you could weld it into a fixture. It's a one-time use at that point, things like that, or a wrench that I can literally cut or torch and bend into a different shape. So I'm going to show you, and I'll link some of this stuff down below. This is sort of a shameless plug, but a lot of this stuff is on Amazon. Now, Amazon tools, actually, I've had a varying array of success from things that work really well and are actually really good quality tools to things that are super cheap. But that's kind of the point. If you're starting out with nothing, you'll want a toolbox, something cheap. Get a Husky box from Home Depot or Lowe's or whoever sells them for a cheap price, something you can put all your stuff in, you can organize. You don't need to spend money on tool organizers right away because they are actually expensive. And that's the things like these little plastic tool set organizers that will go in your box so you can put like all your sockets on one, all your wrenches on one. Let's say toolbox organizer. So these are like little trays you can put in there. Some people with those big power bins, the wheeling, we always called them house on wheels. Then we'll get into this too, but they say there's a reason that toolboxes are on wheels. It's because guys move jobs regularly. Sometimes guys just move across the shop. Like you got a bay here and a bay over there with another project on it, stuff like that. These are the kinds of things I'm talking about though, where like put all your wrenches in one thing. A lot of times you'll buy tool sets though, they come with a box or an organizer. Use that for free. It's a way better deal. You'll spend way too much money on stuff like this right off the bat. Don't worry about that. Just know how to remember where you put things and know how to keep up with what you're doing and keep your stuff organized. It will save you a lot of money. And of course, remember, being organized in your brain will save you a lot of time. Time is money, more than ever in an industry like automotive work, because these are things that are phrases you'll hear if you don't know anything about this, where like flat rate mechanics. Flat rate is, say you get, like the last place I worked was like it was $29 an hour. So I always say 30, but to make myself feel better, it was $29 an hour flat rate, which means a job has a set time rate. So this was working on Volkswagen Audis. I would do a job that I knew was an 8-hour job. The idea then is to beat the time. Once you know how to do a job, you will try to beat the time so that you make more money. So you could do an 8-hour job, let's say in 6 hours, you made 2 hours. So you got 30 plus 30, you got 60 extra bucks for doing that job. Okay, so in an 8-hour day, oftentimes mechanics work a 9-hour day with a 1 hour lunch. You can work your lunch or you cannot work your lunch. Most guys don't work their lunch or most guys don't take their lunch, they work their lunch because that gives you an extra hour to do stuff. A lot of guys work extra late into the afternoon or evening past when they should be going home or when they're allowed to go home because they need to get a job done. You get into a job that takes a lot of work, and you're going to try and knock that off as fast as possible because you got to remember several things. Customer wants their car. They need their car, or they wouldn't be paying you to fix it, right? Or they wouldn't be paying your shop to fix it. So they're expensive, and the jobs are expensive, and you need to treat it as such, and you need to treat it as a priority. But you also need to treat yourself as a priority. You can't go insane. It is a high stress type of job in a high stress environment, depending on the shop you're going to work for, and oftentimes a low gratitude job. Not to complain, it's just to say that's what you need to expect. And a lot of guys wear themselves down pretty quick doing mechanic jobs at a high volume shop. So just bear that in mind. You got to prioritize different stuff, but you got to get your job done if you want to come back tomorrow. So you got to make sure that your customer is a priority. You're taking care of their equipment being their car. You're taking care of them and their car. That's oftentimes their second most expensive asset, and it is what allows them to go to work every day or to take their kids to school or et cetera, et cetera. And if you're working for a large shop, you're going to have a service advisor who is the middleman between you, the mechanic, and the customer. They're the face of the business that the customer interacts with, and they set the jobs and they set the labor rates, and you got to be courteous and polite to your service advisor, and you hope that you get the same in return from them. But they're also stressed out because they're dealing with a lot more vehicles than you are, typically speaking, and they will be expecting you to do the impossible all the time. So if you can do the impossible all the time, you're going to be a favorite tech. But starting out, it's kind of a lot to ask of somebody. So you're going to need to just work with what you got. And this is where another thing I was going to say earlier, you can't be an easily offended person. If you are easily offended, you need to learn to quickly get over that if you're going to be a mechanic. People have unreasonable demands in any job anywhere in the world that you're going to get, and the automotive field is no different. So you got to have a good sense of humor. You got to know how to leave work at work, not take it home with you. And you got to know how to not take things personally. So those are 3 core personality traits that you're going to develop. If you don't already have them, you're going to need to develop them very fast. So I would say that's actually a good lesson for anyone in any career field, but especially in this one. Environmental conditions are never great. Horrible smells, dangerous, chemicals, stuff like that, on top of the high stress environment and, busting your knuckles, cramping your body, scraping and cutting, things like that. It all adds up in a day to make a bad day really bad if you're not able to put through your head that this isn't, you know, your entire life, right? So these are just things you need to be aware of. Again, it's not to complain and it's not to scare anyone off. It's just to tell you exactly what it is. So let's say you're starting out at like a local mechanic shop. A lot of times guys are very generous and they will let you borrow tools, but you need to take care of those tools. You need to clean their tools when they're done. So if you got brake clean handy and some rags, wipe their tools down before you give them back to them, or before you set them back on their box or whatever the case is. Because they're going to stop loaning you tools soon if you break things, ruin things, hand them back greasy, covered in oil, covered in brake dust, whatever. Just have the courtesy to think about that kind of stuff. Two things that I've heard over the years that were really important. If you borrow it twice, this is a cliche thing to say. If you borrow it twice, you need to buy it. So if you borrow a tool twice, write that on a list, and you're just starting out, you don't have anything, write that tool on the list, write the sizes that you commonly see on whatever type of vehicles you're working on, and make sure that as soon as you can, you buy that. Don't go into debt over this job. It's not worth it. But there are sometimes you're going to need to get something as soon as possible, and other times you can wait a little bit. If you have a good relationship with the people you work with, they'll let you keep borrowing those tools long enough that you can afford to buy a good set of what you're looking for. The basics, there's a lot of videos out here on YouTube of the different stuff that you need, but the basics are obviously like metric. Even if you're working on American cars nowadays, unless you're working on classics, everything's metric. So you're going to need deep sockets, deep well sockets, which are like the 2.5 to 3 inch long sockets in 3/8. You're going to need 1/2 inch impact sockets for things like wheels or large bolts, frame bolts, stuff like that. You're going to need some good pliers like the long handle needle nose pliers for generic stuff. You could actually simplify this down in your toolbox as starting out to a very specific set of tools that will help you do any job, and then you're going to want to get those more specialty tools to what you're working on as you go and as you learn what they are and which ones you're going to need. You're going to need 1/4 inch ratchet and 1/4 inch sockets and lots of extensions. This is because a lot of these bolts these days are in aluminum parts or aluminum bolts themselves. They break easily. You do not want to waste time on extracting broken off, snapped off bolts, things like that. So don't use 3/8 on everything. A rule I learned when I was working on Hondas was if it's a 12 millimeter or smaller, use a 1/4 inch. Anything bigger than that, you can oftentimes get away with 3/8. Every now and then, though, there's still a time when you got to switch back and forth depending on what it is and where it is. You'll learn all of that kind of stuff. You're going to need like the U-joint swivel socket extensions. You're going to need a couple of those in every size kit that you have. 1/2 inch impact rated ones, they will still break, but that's why you really need that impact rated ones. Impact rated are black, usually black coated stuff. You're going to need power tools. You're going to need a big nut buster. Whether you want to do pneumatic or electric, it doesn't really matter. Cordless for the electric tools. I love the Milwaukee stuff because they make tools for all kinds of stuff that I need. All the other companies are getting better at that now. DeWalt still makes good tools, but I'm partial to Milwaukee because once you get a battery set, that's all you want to buy. Don't worry about trying to have 45 different chargers for everything. And Milwaukee's great if you don't know already. Home Depot is usually the cheapest place to buy Milwaukee stuff, and if you have the Home Depot app, you will get great deals on that stuff. If you have a Roll King near you, they'll oftentimes have good deals on Milwaukee stuff as well. Don't pay full price for anything unless you have to. Wait till it's on sale. That's the best advice I could give you on that because you're going to spend $2,500 on just the bare minimum right away unless you get it on sale, and you can save almost 50% of that, if not more sometimes. So do that. Ask if you're going in for an interview somewhere what kind of things you're going to need. And if you're going in for an interview somewhere, it's not somebody who already said, yeah, I'll give you a job here. there's a bunch of things you're going to need. You want to look clean and professional for any job interview. Yeah, I know you're going to be a grease monkey mechanic, but look like you could be a manager at some point when you walk in there. Look nice, look clean. I remember seeing guys come in for interviews where I've worked in the past, and it was just kind of like, well, they're probably good fit for the job, but show that self-respect to yourself that you have upward mobility. It's a good rule in any interview that you go into, any job that you're trying to go into. And obviously, when you show up on the first day, you don't want to be wearing your nicest starched white button up and a bunch of stuff like that. But you get what I'm saying. Just dress part. It's not so much that old cliche rule of dress for the job you want. It's dress to show that yourself that you can be that guy if you wanted to be, right? Um, Talk clean, talk professional. Mechanics are foul-mouthed, dirty sense of humor, wild, rowdy bunch. Don't act like that in an interview. Your manager might even let a couple slip while you're in the interview, but that doesn't mean you need to. Just act that way. Act professional when you're doing that part. Once you show up on the job, don't immediately become the dirtiest person there. You kind of social hierarchy, work your way into it. Be polite to your foreman, your the guys who've been there longer than you as best you can. Make friends. You don't need to be friends with everyone there. Uh, you don't need to talk to everyone in there, but it is good to go and meet everyone there and talk with them. Everyone in a mechanic shop is usually very friendly and wants to hang out and chat, but don't hang out and chat with them while they're trying to do something. Talking costs money when you're a mechanic, and it's a great distraction, a great way to escape what you're doing, but I'm guilty of doing it way too much. However, there's something you'll learn where you're better if you're the guy who just never talks. You'll probably make more money than the guys who do, unless they know exactly what they're doing and they've been doing it for a while. Um, there are a couple things I'm going to show you real quick. So like this brand that I've found on here, I'm not paid for it, but I do have affiliate links. So if you're working on like Euro cars and stuff like that, and nowadays it's not just Euro cars. If it's brand new models, so you're working at like the dealership level, um, you're gonna need a lot of these specialty tools anyways. But this brand Lexivon makes some great stuff, like these hex bit sets. Hex bits aren't that common. Usually it's going to be Torx or triple squares, but uh, stuff like this that you can add to your kit early on. These are at a good price, and I have yet to break one, which is saying something because I've used them in some pretty hectic situations. Um, Working on stuff is hell on your tools and on your body, but if you find something that works for you, stick with it. So like here are the inverted Torx and Torx sets. The inverted is what they call E-Torx, so you can see the way that they look on the top there, those black with the little hexagon inverted. That's an E bit, and then the Torx at the bottom is the normal exverted Torx, right? Like they insert into the head, whereas these wrap it like a socket would. Um, get some of these Lexivon tools for all those specialty needs because I said so. No, because they're affordable and they do the job. And they have a good variety of everything you need. So like the triple square bits, some of the best ones that I own are actually from this company on Amazon. And like you can see, most of these sets are under 50 bucks. That's a pretty solid deal. Harbor Freight's always a good place to go for like some of the random other bits, but Harbor Freight doesn't honestly have a lot of variety at a lot of their locations. So in the meantime, it's nice to be able to order stuff on Amazon. I'll show you what I'm talking about with the pliers. You want a set of these as soon as possible. I actually own, you can see overall pick, I actually own a set of these. They're not the most durable. They're not the best quality. They say Amazon Basics on it, so you feel like a plebe. Doesn't matter. They will do the job. So there's a 90-degree set, or one that's a 90-degree turn, one that's a straight, and one that's a 45, which is exactly what you want. These are to help you with hoses, weird stuff you can't reach, sometimes retrieving tools you can't reach, um, hose clamp, the spring-loaded hose clamps, stuff like that. You got to have these. These are a must, along with a traditional set of normal stubby pliers. You're going to want those. Um, you're going to want hose clamp pliers as soon as you can afford them, but they aren't an absolute must. They are just a huge frustration saver. A set like this is a great example of what I'm talking about. These have these weird swivel heads on them that are super strange the way they work. They're kind of hard to actually line up the way you want, but they will save you so much time and trouble. And then you see this long version on like a bike brake cable. That's to reach the stuff that you cannot reach physically, or that's at a weird angle, usually like radiator hoses down in the cowl along the front of the car, stuff like that. You'll want those as soon as you can get them. You're going to want normal Phillips and flathead screwdrivers, hand drivers, large set, small, normal-ish set, and like stubby sets. You're going to want pin screwdriver, like that it'll fit in your chest pocket. With the magnet on the back, preferably. Get a set of them. They're cheap as can be, and they come in useful all the time. You're going to want, this came up instead of what I was searching for, but you're going to want a pick set like this. I own this one. This is not the best quality, but they are cheap, and they do the job. These are to get everything that you can possibly imagine a pick set is useful for. They are, but you got to be careful because they are sharp. So if you're trying to like run a hose off of a radiator connector, you'll want that 90-degree pick or something like it to run around the edge and break free all of the corroded, solidified coolant that's in there against the aluminum. Great to use, but you got to be careful because they will poke through and destroy a hose. So don't break more stuff than you have to. Preferably don't break anything at all, but that's not really possible. So you'll learn that also pretty quickly. Another thing about being on the job, be honest. Don't lie. Don't make anything up. Don't, even though there are times when it probably feels like the best option, don't do it. Even if you have a manager who has like the wrath of Satan, tell the truth. If you break something, say something. Go to a foreman, go to somebody and say, hey, I effed up. This is bad. What do I do? They will tell you exactly what to do. A lot of times if you're working in the dealership, things that it's called failed on removal for a reason. Things like plastic connectors or stuff like that, you can't go in there and be Wreck-It Ralph. You got to try and preserve every single thing you can. I've always been pretty good about that, but even I will break stuff. So when it breaks, you need to replace it. And you need to go to parts department or whoever your situation is, make sure that you make it right because, again, that is that customer's investment. And even more than that, you're saving your own butt by making sure you fix things that get broken or messed up, cross-threaded, whatever. You will be in there to work on that car again, more than likely, and you don't want to be the reason that you're in there to work on that car again because you won't get paid to do it. So if it's a comeback and it's something you broke or something you forgot to do, you're now working for free and you're losing money. Don't do that to yourself at all. Every chance you can, avoid it. It will still happen to you. It's not the end of the world, but don't let it happen to you if you can avoid it at all. Like I have some nice cars. I have an old classic muscle car truck. I have a nice Corvette, things like that. And one of the guys I worked for a couple of years back told me, he said, treat like working on a rusty old Honda Civic. You don't want to be there working on it. It's a pain. It's horrible. But one of the things he told me when I was first starting out was treat every car like it's your Corvette. Every customer's car, regardless make, model, year, condition, even if it's obvious that they don't treat it like it's their Corvette, you need to treat it like it's your Corvette, and that you want it to be nice, right? You want it to be in better condition than when you found it. So bear that in mind. It's incredibly important, and it will save you just putting that as your default mindset. It will save you a lot of time and money in the long run. So bear that in mind as well. Um, you're going to want a lot of other, like I said, a lot of tools. The best thing to do if you get on the job, don't necessarily, there are these things that you'll know to buy in advance, but you don't need to beat yourself to the game because you'll spend too much money before. This profession costs money. Um, if you're a good mechanic, you will make more than you spend, and that's the goal in any job. But this isn't a free job. It's not like an office job where you show up, everything's provided, and it works. You're going to spend your own money. Get good at your taxes and saving your receipts. Make sure that you're able to itemize your deductions, things like that. This isn't legal tax advice. I'm just telling you, learn about that too if it's not something you already know, because you're going to spend money on this job. And um, that's just the nature of the game. And it's not for pleasure, it's because you have to have this stuff. And you'll spend thousands and thousands of dollars before you ever even work an hour. And that's not a good investment. So keep it reasonable so that when you show up on the first day of the job, you have a couple of the essentials and somebody can ask you to go do this or that. You're going to want, like, filter wrenches, and you're going to want the socket style filter wrenches you can put on an extension, but you're also going to want like the vice grip pliers for disposable non-cartridge filters, oil filters and stuff like that. You're going to want, you know, uh, like the basic PPE stuff usually is provided for you depending on the shop you work at. Safety glasses, I always hate. I think they're stupid. They fog up. They make it hard to see, but there are certain jobs you just have to have them. You're going to want like a little pneumatic die grinder that you can put the brush wheels on so that you can clean brake parts. You're going to want a wire wheel for a drill so that you can clean up brake parts. You're going to want, and bolts and stuff like that, or bolt areas, contact surfaces, stuff like that. Scotch Brite by hand if you're doing like a mating surface for a seal, like you're replacing a water pump or something like that. You just want a little hand Scotch Brite. Most places will actually provide that. Most shops provide you with brake clean, gloves, little weird things like Scotch Brite, or little fluids, lubes like brake parts lube, stuff like that. Anti-seize, Loctite, those types of things, they will have it, or they should be providing it to you, so you don't need to like spend your own money on getting that stuff. But you also can't spend it like it's free, because it's not to your business, and your business has to make money too, right? So just run a balance in your head of how that works. There are some products that I would still buy for myself because I had a better product that I knew to use for certain things, if that makes sense. You're going to want, Torx bit sets, stuff like that. You're going to want to show up in your least nice, clothes, boots, hat, whatever, because they're getting destroyed. Um, you're going to want comfortable footwear. You're going to want to show up to learn. You're not going to want to show up and be standoffish, confrontational. You're going to want to just absorb, learn fast, get good fast. Don't force it to be fast, though. Force it to be good, and then perfect on that. It's like being an athlete. Learn the skill, walk through it step by step in your head, practice, and then that's how you get fast, right? Repetition. So this is a scatterbrained thing, but I wanted to put this out here because these are some of the things that I think a lot of people maybe overlook and don't understand how this works. So get some of those basic tools, show up, ask the guys that already work there what their toolbox looks like. Ask them if you can take a look and see what tools they have so that you can make a list. Open the Notes app on your phone and just start writing stuff down, and then cross it off as you get it. You're going to want torque wrenches for if you get to the point where you're working on engines and stuff like that. I know a lot of guys work like A, B mechanics, stuff like that, like lube techs, stuff like that. You're going to have like porters and guys like that around. I never did that because I went into the full-time professional field later on in my experience, so I knew how to fix things. Like, I'm a problem solver. I'm don't want to, toot my own horn too much, but I think well, I reason well, I understand how things work, and those are all things that will be good skills for you to develop if you haven't done it before. Um, don't just think about everything in terms of I know which parts to replace. I only know Fords. I can work on this Ford. I can't work on those things. A car is a car. Most, especially now, almost every vehicle is identical. It's kind of atrocious when you realize it. I'll make some more videos of me ranting on the automotive industry in the future. That's not what this is. But if you can fix everything wrong with a Honda Civic, you can probably pretty quickly learn how to fix everything wrong with a insert make and model and year. These vehicles all share connectors. They all share parts suppliers. Like, you're going to find Denso. You're going to find Kian. You're going to find uh, Bosch. You're going to find all of this stuff, all of these parts. They might be shaped different. They might be a different part number model of these components, but every car has the same components and they all do the same things. It's just a matter of the software that links them and the computers and scanners that you use to access that. A lot of these things nowadays are done completely on the computer. Learn procedures, reset procedures, software updates, flashes, things like that that every um, main dealer tech does every day. You're going to do at every main dealer on every type of car. It's just kind of the way that it is. Um, and then the biggest thing is you're going to need to learn how to take a repair order or a job ticket, look at it, identify it, know what it is, know you're going to be able to get out of it. A lot of companies now do tech videos. Never miss a tech video. Do it every single time and understand that the customer will watch it. Now, they don't all watch it, but act as if they do. Pretend you're your favorite YouTube vlogger that is a professional, well-spoken, good orator, and show them their car. Don't spend too much time on it unless you know that this customer is going to need these things done. I've made 15-minute tech videos before. Do not make a habit of doing that. And I got so much crap over it, but it worked because it wound up being like a $9,800 job. So understand that most people aren't going to actually watch it, but the ones who do and the ones who need work done are going to watch it and they're going to listen to what you say and they're going to hear your attitude, your tone, the swear words you use, the things you said about their mother, and the things that people around you are saying, and they're going to hear the music that you're blasting on your JBL speaker in your bay, which I don't recommend being that guy. Get headphones. It's so much better. A, it lets you tune everyone else out, and B, you don't look like that guy in the shop. There's nothing wrong with being that guy in the shop if you're good at your job and everyone respects you. It's just, it's not the right look. It's like the people in public riding down the sidewalk on their bicycle blasting 2008 Lil Wayne. It's like he's obviously vibing. He is the main character, but it's just not the image that I want other people to portray or that I'm going to portray myself. You can listen to your favorite Alex Jones podcast in headphones, and your HR lady's not going to freak out and fire you. Things like that. No one needs to know what you're actually thinking and doing. You're there to make money and go home. So keep it, in reason that way. These are all just silly little things that I'm saying, but this is designed for somebody who's never thought about these things, and I just wanted to kind of share from my experience of doing it what it looks like, how it feels, and the kinds of things to think about. So I hope you appreciate that. I hope this helps at least one person out there get this idea in their head and plan on learning. Don't plan on acting like you know everything. No one knows everything. You will teach guys who've been there for 20 years new things if you are respectful and curious and constantly using this as a reason to expand your mind. Excuse me, and your skill set. So you talk too much, and that happens anyways. You just don't wind up wasting time. So just show up, ask questions, be honest, say when you don't know what you're doing. Ask someone to help you do it. It is sometimes hard to find someone to help you learn that process, but it doesn't always have to be a foreman. But that's kind of what your foremen are there for. Um, if you're in the main dealer situation, understand the way that warranty work works, understand the way that their tech line works, the people that you're going to call to get approval on a warranty job, and understand how they think and understand how the part actually works. If you actually know cars and you know how cars work and you know how systems in cars work, you will get so much further than just doing what you're told and assuming that this is the right thing. You'll save yourself time, you'll save your company time, you'll save the manufacturer time, you'll save everyone money, and you will make more money, and you will become priceless. Currently, at least the way it was when I was still working full time main dealership, every mechanic who knows how to do something is priceless. Make yourself utterly irreplaceable, and you will never be without work, if that makes sense. Um, just focus on improving yourself, being better, learning, asking questions, being honest with everyone around you and yourself, and go get the job done. You can definitely go places in the automotive industry if it's your passion, if you care about cars, if you care about cool stuff. A lot of people want to work on cars because they want fast cars, they want cool cars. It's a great reason to do it. You will learn so much that your mind will be blown and you won't even like cars anymore. But that's not 100% true. That's just kind of a joke. It's more that like some of your favorite cars as a kid, you'll never want that car. You'll want something way weirder and way cooler because you'll learn a lot about the way that everything works. You're going to be working on a lot of boring turbo four cylinders, a lot of weird stuff. If you can get a job at a dealership, a main dealership, and they like you and you make yourself invaluable and you go to trainings, get into, yeah, it's stupid and it's horrible, but get into working on hybrids and electric vehicles because if you go to those trainings and they get you certified to be a high voltage tech, and everything else, like you're good at powertrains, chassis, software, all of it, you'll be a manager before you can think, and you will also never run out of work. A lot of the problems guys have is they don't know how to sell enough work when they need to. They also don't know how to breeze through the easy stuff and not ask too many um, stales on that stuff. You got to learn how to like prioritize the vehicles and the jobs that you're going to have on your plate for the week. That way you're not sitting there on a slow Wednesday afternoon wishing you could go home with literally nothing to do but sweep your floor for the 15th time. That happens a lot. There's a lot of downtime where you're just losing money. It's just the nature of the game. But if you learn the logical processes of this and you are skilled and certified to do all of this different work, you will have very few of those days, and that's the best way to be. Um, you don't want to drag jobs out because that's you losing money, but you want to learn how to stack jobs in a way that works based on the customer's schedule, your shop's schedule, and your schedule, and in a way that your service advisor thinks you are the GOAT. And once you can do all of that, you keep acquiring the knowledge, acquiring the tools, physical and mental, to do it. The world's your oyster, and you'll knock it out. So, again, I hope this helps somebody. I've ranted for 45 minutes now, but this is probably way more scatterbrained than anybody's going to get any use out of. However, there's a reason behind that, and if you think that way, you'll probably be a good mechanic. You got to focus on a lot of things at once, but you also got to laser in on what you need from that information. Get good at diagnosis too. Watch a lot of videos, read a lot of, you know, automotive blogs. You will never think about this as a car consumer again, and that's a good thing. That means you're getting somewhere. So I hope that helps, and I hope that you're able to find some use. I'll link some of these like essential products in my video. If you are interested, click on those Amazon links, buy some of that stuff. It gives me like 3 cents, so shout out to you. I appreciate the 3 cents. I don't have an OnlyFans, so that's probably the best way to give me some money. If you feel like you need a product, I get a little cut, you get a product, and that's the way this works. So if you're interested in more automotive stuff, I'm not going to do a lot of talking about this stuff. I'm going to rant about all kinds of things on my YouTube as usual, but I also have a ton of projects and videos that I've been editing. So there'll be like actual product project videos on here in the future. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, subscribe and drop a like and ask some questions in the comments if you're curious about it. I can at least give you my 2 cents on some stuff. So appreciate it. Hope that you all find what you're looking for. Go out and apply for a job. If you want to be a mechanic, try it. It's not. It is something that has a relatively high turnover rate in a certain part. Like the top 50% of mechanics don't really turn over. The bottom 50 turn over all the time, but they stay in the industry usually. And if you're just not sure what to do, don't make yourself a liability. Guys really don't enjoy someone who's a liability in their shop because they have to babysit you, and that's not the position you want to put them in, and that's not the position you want to put yourself in. So don't just go in and say, "Oh, I just got here from, cutting hair, and I've never even seen a car before." Don't do it that way. But if it's something you already know a little bit about, you already tinker with, you want to get into it, jump in, ask for a job, ask to, shadow. They'll make you shadow somebody who works there anyway. And if they can tell that you know how to do things and you know what you're doing, at least to a degree, they'll get you on jobs and they'll get you making money pretty quick. But you still need to remember that when you don't know something, go ask someone, go look it up in the repair manual, do it the right way, and you'll go incredible places. So good luck, and we'll see you out there. Have fun.